I'm going to talk about building a front-end app once and reusing it always. So yeah, we'll talk more about that. What kind of problems? So more on that later. So what will be the agenda for this talk? We'll talk about the what are the existing processes for the front-end deployment that we are having with for various type of applications. We'll not focus more on the very deep into different processes, but I'll just give a higher level overview of all that. We'll talk about shortcomings with those processes. What are the challenges that comes up with those processes? We'll talk about what is a specific problem that I faced, for which I was able to figure out a solution, and what are the challenges that I faced while implementing that solution. Then there will be, obviously there should be a demo, so I'll be giving a demo where I'll be showing how that solution works out. And finally, I'll be doing a check on whether it is a perfect or can we make it better. So before we do that, bit about myself. My name is Anil Kumar Chaudhary. I write my thoughts and whatever I learn at simbathesailor.dev. I work at Sequoia Consulting Group. It's based out of Bangalore. So I love playing basketball, but now it's like, we all are uh, in home, so there's no basketball, but I also love watching it. And that is also not, NBA is also done for now for this year. So it's not, I'm not doing all that for now. I love front end and performance. Feel free to talk to me, reach out to me on Twitter. Discussing. You can discuss anything on front end and performance. I'll be, ready to, pitch in and share my ideas. So let's start with the different build processes that front end apps have. So typically, like if we don't talk about any frameworks like React, Angular, or Vue.js, or any other kind of framework or libraries, it's just that browser understands index.html, JavaScript, and CSS. All every bundler does that same thing. It bundles it and give it to the browser. Browser knows how to render it. So that is the whole way of doing it. Like now we used to have just one index.html and we used to add scripts manually, but now we have bundles. So we had a great talk about Webpack. I came to know a lot more about Webpack in the previous talk. So moving on with the the bundlers, not bundlers, the frameworks we have, they usually bundle your code. And how typically if you do it, we have some code like here you can see in the blue color, we have the code. This is code which is there in your repository, the code base that you are working on. Then we have some kind of env parameters. So in a typical application, we have different endpoints for different environments. When I talk about environments, that is something like staging, pre-prod, production, and UAT, these kind of environments. So if you have both the things, you can actually um, run your code through a bundler, and that is your build process. And that build process will spit out the build folder. Okay, so that is the more or less the idea. That this idea differs for some cases where we have server side rendered app where we are at the runtime we are generating the HTML and all that stuff. That is another thing, but in most of the cases we do this thing. So yeah, so when the build process is running, the build process does lot many things. Like it installs the package, it does the minification, it runs the test. If you have private packages, it will do the installing the private packages. It will create your final files, and then if there is any kind of, if you are fine tuning it, that also can be part of your build process. So for our code base, it used to take 15 minutes of our time. And the kind of application that I have worked in, it takes around 5 to 7 minutes are like very. So am I audible? So
Yes, yes.
okay. Cool. So yeah, typically it takes like 5 to 7 minutes of time to do all that stuff. But in our case, it was 15 minutes. That depends on the kind of application you have and number of applications you have. So for us, deploying this application on UAT pre-production and production, it was taking around 15 minutes, and that's not optimal. And plus, we also use Docker. so Docker, for those of who don't know about Docker, Docker is just a virtualized OS. It's just a box which keeps your which keeps your um, the build, whatever the build folder that we generated here in a box. Like it has all the system, it meets all the system requirements and is fully capable of running your application. So that's a Docker image. As a front end guy, I know this much about the Docker we are using in our application. So creating a new Docker image is not optimal for each and every environment. So that's the problem that was actually was faced by our DevOps team. I have written an article also on that, how this all problem came up and what was the actual problem. But this is the gist of all the problem. Like they don't want to create a Docker image for different environments again and again. So what are the existing solutions that we have? you know so existing solution, like we can have a separate .js file for various environments and load it before other scripts in your you know web page. Like you can load it in the head, and then once that is loaded, then you can set it to the global scope. So in Windows, that's like on the browser, the global scope is nothing but your Windows. So you set it like window dot some param equal to that some value that you must have already kept it ready and just serving it from your public folder. The above process has following drawbacks. So putting anything in global scope is not safe at all. So people might come up with a number of things, like it is safe with the right set of permissions, but it's like but there is so many checks to make before saying it confidently that yeah, it is safe, that putting things in the Windows is safe, at the Windows scope is safe. So I never went to this way. I thought of not putting the param values in global scope. And then the if somehow we are able to do that, the above one is right set for you. So there will be changes in how you are writing your code, how you are actually consuming process.env, some kind of parameters, and also a lot of sync up may be required between for deployments. You may have to talk to developers, whether you have updated this file or not and all that. So this is a problem which I have not reached that stage where I did not follow this step, but I can properly see that these all problems will be not so far. Okay. So there was one more solution. Our application uses the Webpack. So our application is based on the Create React app boilerplate. Um, we have exited from the default script. Now we are using so we can make changes in the Webpack. So one of the option people suggested that go for the define plugin, but define plugin is something that happens in the build process. But that's the thing. I don't if that is happening in the build process, I cannot separate the env injection process. I cannot separate it. So that again I'll reach to the same problem. And then there were more challenges. I think I have mentioned in an article that I'll be linking in the references section, that you can give a read. So saying all that, what if we have one more step, like in here we have this step, where we were actually building, and there was only one process, one step where we are building your project and just giving that bundle to the Docker image. What if we can have two steps? So going forward, so I came up with this solution. So the red one is the, so let me explain you what's happening here. So this is your code. This box, as you can see, is your code, and the red section is what is happening in most of the application. So you have a code in which you are using process.env dot react underscore app underscore test, and that get replaced by some value. That value you are getting from some kind of parameter. Now once this bundle is generated, that bundle cannot be used for different environments. The reason being that code is very specific to now staging now, because there's no way to there's no deterministic way of pulling those things out, because by that time a lot of minifications and dead code removal might have happened due to the bundler, due to the our wonderful bundler who have removed all the things. It's not that easy, and it's not at all safe. So what can be done? So let's now focus on the green step. So the green step is, in the first step, we can not replace this process.env.react the thing kind of strings, and just replace it with some kind of placeholder. And once after the step one, we get a bundle with some kind of placeholders. That placeholders can be filled later on in the step two. Okay, so now this bundle is environment agnostic. So this bundle can be used across environments easily. Now I just need to run some script that I'm going to talk about. That script will actually inject these param values. That param values are coming from a param store to these, and for us it was taking less than 5 seconds now. So and so before I tell few things about that process, I'll just explain the phase one thing. So what's happening in phase one? So we are making use of the Babel parser. So Babel parser is it allows you to convert your code to ASTs. I'm again talking about ASTs. ASTs are really it looks like very difficult, but when you start working with it, then it's just a set of object, a nested object that you have to play around. And even myself, when I was working on it, it took me a lot of time to try out various combination. I learned a lot there. So in the first step, I'll be passing the code with Babel parser. That will give me why I'm doing it with the Babel parser, because I have to be precise that I am replacing the correct uh, you know variables. I'm not replacing any string like process.env something. I am actually replacing member identifiers or variables. So that's for that it gives you the confidence that you are replacing it at the correct place. Then this is the part of the AST, because process.env, that's a member identifier type of a node that you can identify, and then you replace it with a template string. What is the template string that I was able to figure out? So this looks very cryptic and fuzzy to people, but this is something like $underscore internal. So I try to make it so unique so that it cannot be, if someone wants to overwrite it, then they can overwrite it, but there's no way, like, if it should not be done mistakenly. So this was there, and there's a part called process.env.react_app. This is your param name. So that I'll be making use to replace it in the second step. But there is one more thing which is very crazy, like math.random. Why there is a math.random? Because it's very difficult to figure out which Babel loader or which Babel plugin is actually making that dead code remover. If I'll not uh, uh, add mat.random, what will happen? My bundler will remove this piece of code. If there is a truthy value, if there is a falsy value, then it will remove that piece of code. That is dead code removal. They'll remove it. So I don't want that to happen, because I want those things to be available for my second step. So for that, I need to create some kind of confusion for Babel to do this. For that, mat.random was used. So when using mat.random, my bundler is lost. Like what it will do, it will not replace it. It will keep it as it is. Then in the phase two, what I'll do, I have one script that will actually replace this template string with the actual values. And these actual values are coming from any kind of param store. And then in our case, in our specific case, we are gzipping the new content and starting the server. So this is the whole idea. The implementation detail can be, differ from, bundler to bundler, but this is the whole idea. That's what I'm doing. So moving ahead, let me so I came up with a Webpack loader that I was able to create. So don't so people who have not worked on Webpack loader, don't get scared with this thing, like we have to create a Webpack loader and all that complexity. The main idea was this one only. So yeah, so I'll just walk like it. I'll stop share for this meeting. Anyone help
Hi.
me? Why I'm not able to escape from this thing? Hello?
Is there a protocol to ask questions, or can I ask in the middle?
So you are not able to exit full screen or something.
Yeah, I'm not able to exit it.
On the top there is a green bar, right? View options, maybe. Uh,
Wait. Okay, yeah. Cool. Sorry. Is my screen visible to others?
yes.
Right. Cool. So yeah, so I was able to create a Webpack loader. Like I will not go that deep, but just I want to give a 1 minute thing for how to use it. So this is just a Webpack loader that I have added. It because not every time you want to replace all the you don't want to escape or avoid replacing all the param values. Like node environment will not change across staging, pre-prod and production. That is, so that there should be one option to exclude some kind of param names. So that's what the option is for. This is a plugin which is used for the Babel parser. So Babel parser, we have to tell that it is a JSX or it is a TSX. So I have written detailed explanation here how to use it. This is just for the enabling, so you can have a production key check here and accordingly set the boolean flag to it. And then you have a debug. If you have debug, so some kind of logs will come and that will help you out. So that is one thing. And apart from that, um, as so there is this phase two where I have to replace the template string with the actual value. For that, there is one more script that I'm actually exposing with this loader, which actually does that. So it just, you have to create a payload and give the path of the file, like the when I'll be showing the demo, I'll properly show what's happening here. But basically, you just pass set of options, and this env is nothing with but which is coming from your param store, and it will automatically go and replace all the env values. Okay, and that's pretty much about it, and it's written in TypeScript. So type helps will be there. So moving on with that. Uh, so let us begin, and I'll just show you one demo. So this one sample application where I have used it.
Mm.
So is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is the project, and
And just one thing,
yeah, tell me.
Maybe zoom a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So wait. So this is just a application. I'll go to the. I'll just zoom that terminal part.
and just needed one clarification.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so just for clearing that, uh, you are not using the Webpack compression plugin to compress the and make zip, no?
Yeah. I'm not
Just
using.
like just building it for just making the skeleton out of it, and then replacing it with the environment variables, and then zipping it.
Yeah. I'll talk more about that in the sections which can be what things can be done better here.
Okay, yeah,
Cool.
thanks.
So yeah, so this is the application, which is just bootstrapped from a Create React app. It's just having the simple file like app.js, and For us, like, we have, this is a sample application where we have certain values like process.env, like typically how we write it in our application. And we have something in JSX also like process.env and something like that. And we have a const file which is also exporting this kind of stuff. Now what I'm going to do, I've already added this loader in my webpack config. So this is the loader that I've added. So the same way I have shown in the GitHub README. So these are the param values which I don't want to which I want to replace in the first code. I don't want to keep it for the second step. And then there's a plugin because my code is written in JSX. I'm not using TypeScript. And then there's a check for the enable. And this is just one setting, and I'm just that is one setting that I have done. So let me run the build thing. So what it will do, it will actually run your thing, and I'll show you the bundle once this is done. Not sure why it is taking so much time.
You said the project was ejected from Create React App?
Yeah, yes. It is just a small file, so it is taking so much time. Okay, oh, thank God. Okay, so let's go to this file. This is a static file. Inside this, I will just show you what happened after this first run. So this is what is being available to you after the first step. So you can see all the things have been replaced with this kind of stuff. So this is all not like, this is not deployable anywhere because still we have to inject the param values. And there are certain values which we have put it in the excluded list, like this console.log production, because here in the source we have something like console.log process.env.node underscore v. As we are running the production build and it was in the excluded list, it got replaced in the first row only. It did not got replaced with something like this. So that is what you get after the first step. Okay, now let's the second step, that same script is giving me one more function, that is inject env. So in this I'm actually passing, because I know that my JS file is present here in my build folder, and these are the patterns that I want to check for, and these are my env parameters. So these env parameters, again I'm saying that this can be come from anywhere. Okay, and then debug is true. Let me run that script. Once I run this script, then again let's go to the build folder and see what replacements have done to our bundle file. So now you can see that kind of weird looking strings have really gone, and we have these actual values with us. Okay. Now to just make it a complete code, let's run this project and see whether this thing works. So running this thing, and yeah, it works. So that's how it can be done in two phases. So the second phase just did the dependency injection. So that same build can be used for various environments. So moving on to the slides. Yeah, so that was the demo. So one question comes up, like, can we do better? So yeah, right now, like, the gzipping part, the compression plugin I have removed from the webpack because uh, I need to create a gzip again. But that that can be easily done. That that can be written in, like, I have also written one of the package that can be done. That is very trivial. But once this kind of comparison, like, what is the problem is we have to minifying the code after the env injection. So once we are not replacing the code in the first step, what drawback it is, what drawbacks are there, that some code will be there that can be extra, because that would have got removed by the bundler. But as the bundler, we are not replacing those things. Okay, then bundler will won't have any idea whether to replace this dead code or not. So that can be done, and I have already I've already done this part, but it's just that I have not pushed it. So I am making use of Telsor plugin. So Telsor plugin can be run separately, which can does this minification. It can remove all the dead code. So that is one thing. And better way of replacing the process env string in the bundled code. So the second step where we are replacing the process.env string, like the template strings, there can be a better way, like there I'm actually doing the string comparison and adding a lot of checks there. But I think I have tried it out with the Babel parser, but there were some limitations. But I think that is doable. I'm all like uh, I, I'm pretty sure that it can be done, but there are certain challenges that I'm still figuring out. So if that is done, then we can be sure always that this check will never fail. So what's the current status? How, like, are we using it in our application? Yeah, we are using in our application in our company. It will be in production in 1 or 2 weeks. It's just a matter of weeks. But yeah, that is up and running on our environments. So that is one thing. And before I end my talk, I'll just want to share one thought that I learned during preparation of this thing. So problems are the seed for innovation. So never, it's very hard to solve the problems which are very far away from you. Like, I don't know, like I cannot solve a problem for Airbnb and maybe Netflix, because I don't work there. Because you have to first reach to those problems, and then only you can solve it. I think seeing the problems around you and finding out solution is a good way to start innovation and feel contentful and happy about your work. So that's one thing I want to share with you all, that I'm still learning, and I learned a lot during this whole process. So these are the references that you people can, everyone can go here and read about it. And that's the wrap. I think that's my talk. Thank you for listening me out. Thank you.